What's going on, fellas? Welcome back to the fourth and final major of the year, the Open Championship. Wanted to get a quick card out this week. Very confident in the picks this week. So yeah, let's get right into it. My strategy for Royal Birkdale this week, I'm leaning heavily on guys that are good in strokes gained approach, tee to green, driving accuracy, which you got to hit fairways. There's going to be a lot of less than driver holes on this course. So you need guys in the fairway. This rough is nasty. And, last but not least, bogey avoidance. This huge thing in any major as well. It's going to be very windy out this week. Course is going to be playing very firm. Irons are going to be going 300 yards. You got to have elite iron play, controlled driving, and, obviously links experience is a huge part of any Open Championship. So let's get right into it with the top of the board. I am not going to be betting Scotty Scheffler this week. I'm not going to be betting Rory. I'm not going to be betting Jon Rahm. I'm going to start with Matt Fitzpatrick, the Englishman. Matt Fitzpatrick, 18-1. Fitzy, this feels like one of the strongest course fits and form for any player this week. Played really good at the Scottish last week. Came right down to it, lost. He's already got 3 wins out in this year. Birkdale's a course that rewards precision over power, and that's exactly what Matt Fitzpatrick does. He doesn't have to overpower the golf course. He just has to keep hitting fairways, keep hitting elite iron shots, which he does. I don't think the winning score is going to be like minus 16 this week. It's going to be somewhere around minus 9, maybe minus 11 max. I feel like this is a really good fit for Matt Fitzpatrick this week. And yeah, that is my gold pick this week. Second pick this week, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to bet on Viktor Hovland, 35-1. Hovland coming off a hot win at the Travelers, took down Scheffler in that playoff. Hovland's irons are, when it's at its best, it's one of the best in the game. He had a good Open a couple of years ago too. Great experience here. If Birkdale becomes a second golf shot course, which many experts expect, this is one that not many people can match Viktor Hovland in that category. A big factor for him was missing fairways left and right. But, it's going to be a lot of less than driver this week. I feel like Hovland's going to be a good fit here. Third pick, Collin Morikawa. Same odds. I think he was like 37-1. Morikawa already has the experience to win an Open Championship. Elite iron player. Another one that just finds fairways for a living. And Birkdale is almost designed for Collin's style. No one controls the trajectory and distance better than Collin Morikawa in these Open Championship fields. It's going to be firm, windy conditions out here this week, increasing his advantage. Like I said, already has the experience. So Collin Morikawa, that's going to be my third pick. Getting right into it after that, I'm going to go with another Englishman this week, Justin Rose. Rose among the leaders in bogey avoidance this year. Which I think is going to be a huge factor. Justin Rose has the experience of a major champion. He's a great scrambler, great sand player. He's not likely to lead the field in birdies, and I think we know that. But majors at Birkdale are often won by the player who makes the fewest mistakes. That's how majors are played. He almost had the chance at the Augusta too. Very high experience win player as well. So I think Justin Rose can top it off this week as well. It would also be pretty fitting for Justin Rose, finish his career where it started. Started here, and I think it was 98, the first one, had another Open when Spieth won. So, it just seemed fitting in England too as well. I know Harry Kane, the England boys, sold that game today, but I think Justin Rose would put a big smile on his face still to be hosting a claret jug come Sunday afternoon. My last pick, it's going to be Russell Henley. Russell Henley quietly. I quietly like him, one of the best fits this week. It's a lot of less than driver, which I said. He leads the field in fairway percentage. Henley doesn't hit the ball a mile. He's not hitting the ball 320 like Rory. He's hitting it less than 300. But if you're hitting the fairways out here, you're giving yourself looks every time. Like I said before, this isn't going to be like a minus 20 winner. I'm hoping like a minus 9 to minus 11 winner. If scoring stays difficult, or I wouldn't say difficult, if scoring stays in the single digits this week, I think that's another advantage for Henley where he kind of just grinds it out as well. It doesn't make too many bogeys as well. It doesn't make too many mistakes. Russell Henley, he's got great odds this week too. I think they're all the way up to 60-1. So those are my 5 picks this week. I really wanted to get behind Fleetwood this week too, the English guy. Born right around this area too, but the odds are just so fucking bad for him. 18-1 for a guy that's won in a 30-man field. Like, that's terrible. So, Tommy, I couldn't get behind it. Aberg had some interest for me, too. He's heavily moving down the odds board. He's like 40-1 now. But honestly, I didn't really I didn't really have too much interest in Scotty or Rory this week because I knew their odds were going to be juiced. But Scotty's odds are probably the lowest we've seen in a while, and I definitely like Scotty more than Rory this week. So let's go right into the Instagram questions. Top 5 current players on the tour. Go Rory, Scotty. No order. Rory, Scotty, Fitzy. Got to go Goddard up right now. And I'll still get maybe Cam Young. Maybe Xander. Yeah, one of those two. Next question. What is holding Brooks Koepka back? Yeah. We'll take this one offline, whoever asked this question. But yeah, a lot of things are holding Koepka back. I would say putting, probably the most, very indecisive in finding a new putter. Maybe just go back to the putter that won you 5 majors. Fucking retard. But anyways, yeah, a lot of things. Cared a lot more when he was by himself. But yeah. Last question. All right, last question. Sorry, video cut off, lost storage. But yeah, last question I got asked. I'll ask a question. Do you think that Koepka will consider hanging them up after another miscut this week? First of all, we don't accept that Koepka slander in this household. Respectable 5-time major champion right there. But no, first of all, he won't miss the cut. But even if he did miss the cut, he's still 35. He's got a lot of good golf left. Phil won a major at 50. Koepka's got 15 years left. He's got 5 majors in 3 years, or 4 majors in 2 years. So, I mean, people can say what they want about that guy, but he can click in a matter of a heartbeat, and he can even win this week. I saw his odds for like 95, almost 100 to 1. I might have not shared that pick, but if you didn't think I bet on Koepka this week and had that FOMO, like you got to rethink what you're doing right now. So, yeah, those are all my picks this week. Very confident in the card, like I said. But, yeah, let's have a good Open Championship week. Appreciate all the love in the comments, getting flooded. A lot of riders this year. Let's fucking go. Drew Ellis tailing all year. Evan Stewart tailing all year. Joe Nuzzi tailing all year. Appreciate you fellas. Let's go.